So today I'm here to explain few things, basics to start with, how collections and what we do and why we are here, the whole 9 yards. I'm trying not to get into much more into technical details, because that's not the point. The point is to understand the whole bigger picture, right? So yeah, let's get. So the topic what we came up with, to get all of your attention is the haves and the have not paid for what they. So this is the term coined by a person called Eric Wilson, U.S. journalist by the time. So he's a newspaper columnist, and he came up with a popular column that runs almost 6 days a week. It's called "It Happened Last Night," and this is one of the popular term coin. So this term looks make it sounds like debt is bad, right? Do we even need to take a debt, or who are people who are taking debt, are they doing a bad thing? So he makes us to think that way. But let's think about it. Debt exists, that's a truth. And why does it exist? It exists because it relies on the it believes on the future, right? Let's say you are getting started with the college, and then you are out of the college and getting looking forward to get work. Are you going to be hey, let me work, maybe I will work for a few months or a year to earn enough money to buy a laptop, and then I will learn the technology, and then I'll go get a job. But that's not the case, right? You need to get the laptop now today, and you have to jump onto the technology, what you have to learn, and then look for a job or apply for a job, or the jobs are your spectrum of looking for a job is so the truth is that debt is not a trap, it's a tool when it's used the right way, and so it's a fact. And if that is the case, so debt is here, and it is going to grow, and it's going to grow multifold. That's one of the things. So it's not a bad thing. So we are stopped. So if the debt is not a bad thing, and if you are going to go ahead and get it, what's next? The next one, what is collecting the debt? So not everybody who's going to get a debt, or maybe a good or bad or whatever the reason is, we don't know that, right? So let's not get into that detail. But you have to ultimately help your customers to recover the debt what they are supposed to be getting back. So what are the challenges here? Before getting into that, I want to get into one more little story that helps you to connect to this topic very well. When we were starting back in, one of my friend who was into the marketing software professional services in early 2000, he had a problem. That the problem he was trying to solve is his company is trying to sell something, the professional services, to independent software vendors, ISV, right? And when he was going after the ISVs, he was going after the ISVs R&D, R&D budget of ISV. What happened is, when there is a economical, economic cycles, the few things that get cut, obviously R&D is one of them, right? The first one. So he was going through the cycle, and then he's trying to figure out, how do I get out of it? How do I make my revenue stream a little bit more stable, right? So when we looked into a lot of the US ISVs, and what we learned, the same thing can be done in a different way, and they have found that, and they have been in practice. So what is that? Is the large ISVs like Microsoft, Oracle, they all have the similar concept, but what it is, they had their to offer the professional services to their customers with whatever the cost that they want to charge and everything. So what this is, these companies are charging only the license cost. They are not doing anything else, and everything else is passed on to the customers. Customers are happy because the guy who is serving them, the partners, are working closely in their local, and they are taking care of their everything. And the guy who is servicing, he's happy. He is able to make a good revenue. It is not the cost, it's a revenue, right? Because he is offering a professional services, right? So it's a win-win-win. So why not, he can adopt that. So that's what they ended up doing, and then it worked. So how does that relate to our debt collections here? So the debt collection, if you're, it is so seen as like, unfortunately seen as a cost, right? It's like, that's a traditional way of looking at collection agencies, right? So, hey, this is what I had to collect, and it wasn't appreciated in any other way. But then if you look deeper, what we do, what we collect is not going unnoticed, because it is directly impacting the bottom line. So when it impacts the bottom line, we are impacting them, so we can help them directly to improve their bottom line. That's a So let's think about it in that way. Let's not think we are a cost centers. Let's think we are part of the, making our customers to, gain more profit. So then when you talk in them, your customers, the other people who are talking to, are more listening to you than, when you go approach and say, hey, I have something I want you. Let's not do that, right? That's not going to work, right? So we have to move away from that. So that is the parallel I'm trying to draw here. And then, as we know, the collection is a different animal, right? Why? The collection has a lot of different challenges, right? So as the person who who we are trying to collect, maybe he's tracking down the data itself is is very difficult, because he's not there to be seen. So you need a better way of tracing them, right? And debtors who are either unresponsive or outright, we know what it means, right? We come across this situation time. The other one is, how do you train the collection agencies? Why is this so difficult? And collection agencies, and whatever the regulations that come along with this, right? FDCPA tells us a lot of different things. You cannot call before 7 or after 8, or you cannot call more than this many times, and and you have to use the right word. You cannot do, you cannot be harsh. So what is it? How do you handle all these things? Because it sounds very easy. As a human, we can understand what it is, and we can, we know how to make it. Do you have enough on your toolbox that makes it happen, or that is enabling you again and again without making a mistake, or it gives you the power instead of hindering it down, it empowers you to do it? That's the question I'm trying to ask. So when you do this one the right way, we will see this a little bit, and then so I'll walk you through this. Now we have seen that. Now let's see the landscape of what we are talking about today. So the debt landscape, right? If you see, it is $1.4 trillion in 2021, and less than 10% of it are coming from that fintech. So why is this important? This is important because what we in another 2 years, 2026, this is going to grow almost to 30%, which is $300, which is a real. And there are 2,000 active tech companies around, and 60% of the loan are dispersed through digital media. These are the environment where we are in, and the landscape, because you have to always know where the landscape and how the landscape, or how it is going to shape up, and where we are in that space. So if you look at it and then compare to the US counterpart, right? Why we have to compare US? Because in certain ways we are doing things that have already happened in the a couple of decades back, right? When we look at our journey, we have learned so many things, and then we are adapting it now, and going in as early adapters, or going in and giving us a consulting services now. As it is a little bit more easier. There is a lot of differences when you come to the Indian market. I'm not denying that, but there are a lot of things that is parallel, right? So in US, the outstanding debt is about 17.99. This is from the New York Fed, the data coming out from the New York Fed. And then the experience says the average total consumer household debt is about $104,000, which is. So now we know that landscape, and now let's jump into the next. So what we did over the past 25 years, this is our 25th year, what we learned dealing with our almost 500 clients around the globe, which includes more than 100 are in the similar industry of the debt collections, right? What did we learn? This is across the industries, across a lot of different sizes of clients. Individual collections are the corporate collections, or whatever it is, So we with so this is what we found was really coming as a top again and again when we are dealing with our customers and their pain areas. Hey, if you can help me in this, this is good. So I'll walk you through. Collect overdue with as minimal dent as possible on customer experience. Brand. Why is this so important? Why is sitting on number one, right? It sounds very makes sense, but very difficult to do it. Very difficult. You are dealing with a person who doesn't want to pick you. You are dealing with a person who is avoiding you, and he is also having a different technologies that allows him to track you down, track your number, and then not. It makes it harder. So the technology is helping on both sides, right? It's just not on only on our side. It's on the other consumer side also, who is trying to avoid for whatever reason. That's where using the right technology is not just enough. Using the right technology with the right knowledge and experience what works and how to maneuver the system, how to make it work, because there are a lot of people who have done it again and again and learned and coined some success. Like, how do you go ahead and implement those and make it as your advantage? That's what it is, right? Like, we can talk more about it, but given the time frame, like, so if you have any questions, I just, like, come over, like, we talk. Overall, how does our platform help in the debt collections and, like, did? So I was just talking to you about the FDCPA regulations. The FDCPA regulations, like, as I said, don't call before 8, or, like, after 8, or, like, don't call more than few number of times, whatever it is, or, like, don't use hostile, like, word that can hurt them, like, don't send them by any. Again, this is a simple thing to talk about. How do you make sure, like, what does all this, and also it lets you collect more money, or, like, at the end of the day, like, we all have to live. There are a lot of different learnings we came over again and again over the years, and that led us to different kind of a development and different kind of a feature set, different settings or configurations that we find it sometimes, like, simple, but very, very, very. Sometimes there are very difficult configurations, but it makes it look like very easy on the customer side, like yours, right? There are of, like, different things there, like, we can. And when the person is, like, trying to avoid, I'll give you an example. Your call. So what are your options, right? You can, maybe he blocks your number, right? So what are your options? Maybe you have to try with a different number, right? How quickly you are going to do it, right? Or you figure out over a time, he picks up the call about 10:30 in the morning. He avoids the call in the afternoon, or he is easy to reach in the. How do you track this trend? Or when you figure out how I'm going to go about this customer, like, what is the probability of I'm going to be able to, like, reach him or make him, like, to convince him, or make sure my agents are talking the right word, or making him, like, feeling empowered and doing the right thing, right? How do I train my agents to make sure, like, my agents are making him comfortable to do what we are asking him to do, right? How do we do that, right? So it is not just one thing, like, it is a lot of things that works together to make. So that's what it is, like, improving the answerability issue, like, comes with a lot of these configurations and, like, how to make it happen. The compliance is what we just about. It's very simple to talk about, but very, very difficult to implement. And as you know, in the US, our customers would be responsible for paying millions of dollars legal penalty if they miss out even a simple, like, things like. So we learned it very hard way, and our customers are very strict. So that's what pushed us, learn more and, like, make sure, like, these things are work. And increasing the answering machine detection, right? That's one of the features. This is if you are into the international, like, especially the US and other market, you know what it means, because you are going to hit answering machine most of the time, and how quickly you are able to recognize it. Because if you take a minute to recognize it, your next call you are going to make that much slower. If you can do it in 15 to 20 seconds, you are going to make that much quicker, which means you are pushing more calls, right? Simple to think about, but very, very, very difficult to. There are a lot of these features we can talk and then give, like, walk you through how to make sure, like, it makes sense to you, or it is going to be in in alignment with what you are trying to do. So the omni-channel strategies, we would have heard it a lot of times. You have to make your customer comfortable. One thing we have learned recently is there are a lot of different channels, and you better keep those channels alive, because at least somewhere we have to make him feel so make him comfortable in a way that at least you can reach him, and he's not going to avoid your call in that. And then the agent training, that's another important part. You have to be able to do it in a real time. You have to be able to do it before onboard, or during their job, or being able to be monitored, or nurtured, or or corrected real time. All these things matter, and it's a huge part of making sure you are able to do what you are expecting. Now, how does a third-party debt collection work? If you think about it, like account transfer, right, start from there, and then the data integration, and then the main part is sitting in the middle, which is the data account, right? So features, there are way how we make it easy to go around and then let your customer be happy and comfortable and work with. For example, you are dealing with an agency, let's say bank, and you are trying to collect. You are 100% sure the data is not going to be in one format and coming from one source, or from coming in a way that you want it. Nothing is going to be there in alignment, because they have their own challenges and they have their own constraints and boundaries what they are working with. So obviously the data is going to be scattered, and data is going to be in all different formats, and it's going to come different timing, and it is all over the place. How do you make sense out of it? How do you help make meaningful campaign out? It sounds easy. Probably you are now employing different people manually doing it, or you are doing a lot of other Excel sheet. Forget about those Excel sheets. I'm not talking Excel sheet is bad, but yeah, but it is not what it is to take you to able to grow, and then to take you to the next. So there are a lot of technologies can be used in this space, and make sure that helps you to address this problem and make it into your advantage, literally, so you are not boggled down, but you are there. This is another one, we have been there and we have done it, right? So many consumer debt, right? Consumer debt, individual medical bill or whatever it is, or credit card bill, whatever, and commercial debt, it is the whole portfolio of whatever it is, how do you go about, and yeah, that needs a different strategy, and how do you go about it and how it, right? That's another part. And then the international debt collection, as I said, very strict and stringent, that's entirely a different one, and that's entirely different ball game. And pre-collection activities versus the post charge is another way of totally a different ball game, even though they are within the same the portfolio. It is very. So two important things here, again, what learned, based on the overall our 25 years experience, prioritize the accounts based on the past due date. One key thing, so whatever you have to keep that in your mind, and when you are approaching your customers and trying to do that's one thing we see has a lot of relevance, and how a lot of strategies do. This is one of the key factor that drives behind it. And another one is the journey is based on credit due value. Value is another big thing. The date and the value is big thing. So whatever you do, make sure you keep that as one of your main focus, and do your strategies based. Collections and bettering the collections. Right? We help a collection center in different shapes and forms. We have some of our customers also here, so we will be more than happy to deal with, and you can see what difference we are able to make to them, and how we are able to make them successful. Yeah, so it is by a lot of different tricks and the technologies what we learned, and what we experienced over the many. So here are a few things I want to highlight here. Flexible BI is one of the thing. Again, many of you would be used to like using a Power BI or like different tools. Take the data, push it there, and then get all your reports. You don't need to do that because it is in the modern world you don't have that time, and you need everything intuitive, and you need it within the platform, and you need it real time, and you have to take some action. That's possible if you do it within the platform. So if you have any questions. Any of this, feel free to stop by. I hope some of this topic and the points are really useful to you. Thank you.